Well, hello, Chargers fans and Bolt fans all across the nation. Just got to want to make a video. I got a couple of questions from you guys out there that I wanted to answer, at least my opinion. And you can either agree with me, or you can send me another question, or you can tell me, "Hey, that was stupid." Anyway, I got a few things though I want to talk about along with the team, and one was brought up about the um, the word dominance. Staley has been. I mentioned this in a tweet um, that I had, um, and I got a few comments about it. What the tweet was about was the dominance that is being instilled into the organization and the team, and by Staley. And how is that how is that possible? How do you change the outlook that the Chargers have had over the years? How do you change a culture? That type of thing. And so I got into it a little bit, and I've been watching from last year to this year, of course, and the years in the past. We all know that there was some good years, but there was a lot of bad years too. And the coaching has a lot to do with it. Um, Whenever you have a culture and it's a winning culture, you have you have a uh, I don't know, it's not a swagger. I don't really believe in that too much because you know a lot of these guys can have a swagger and never have a winning record. That's not what I kind of look at. No, what I think it is it's a belief. It's a positive belief that a person can have, and the way you get dominance in a team or in players is is you have the talent of the player, right? And then you have the grind of the play. Let of all the plays, but the playbook. Well, the playbook is designed to go 10 yards let's just say. I'm just picking a play, the end around that goes 10 yards. That's what you picture what that play can do. A dominance, a dominant attitude, a dominant feeling can make that play go farther with the talent of the player. Does that make any sense to you? In other words, the player can learn the play and know the play inside and out, but not everybody can make that play 10 yards or make it 11 yards or 12 yards or a touchdown, but some can. And the belief in their self, in yourself, when you're talented like these guys are talented, you have to have a confidence, and that confidence swells. The confidence grows. It grows from the coach to management. It grows from the coach to the players and to the fans. The fans will have that confidence too when they see what the players, the coach, the organization is able to accomplish. That's how you get dominance. And I see it because dominance, when Staley is talking about it, he's mentioned this over and over again this summer. Um, it's something he's stressing. He mentioned it last year, but didn't stay on it very much. This year, it's been a goal. You can tell when he's talking to his players in meetings and coaches in meetings, and he brings that up, it's a goal. That's his goal, is dominating the NFL in whatever it is, the play, the game, the series, the playoffs, the Super Bowl. It's dominating play to play, quarter to quarter, half to half. You can dominate, and if you dominate, you're gonna win. Your winning will come with domination. If you're a dominating team, you will win. Period. There's no way to stop it. You can overcome penalties, not as long as it's too crazy. You can overcome almost everything except injuries. You can dominate and lose because of an injury. You can dominate because of too many penalties. That's true. We've all seen it over the years. There's been some crazy things happen. But I'll take my chances with that if that's the only thing that's going to keep me from winning the game is something crazy happening. I'll take it. I'll take it because if you've got that dominating belief, attitude, and play, then the result is usually 99.9% of the time it's going to be a win. Well, and then that brought up some more questions because I kind of answered a few things, and then I made a statement on Twitter that I felt like the Chargers were going to go either 15-2 or 17-0 this year. And I've said this since they acquired who they acquired this offseason. This is the most talented team that I have seen. You'd have to go back. It's hard for me to remember a team, and I'm not talking about Chargers. I'm talking about NFL team. The most dominating, the almost dominating team that I believe that I remember seeing, and they were very dominant, were the Steelers. Steelers were just really dominant. They could beat you running the ball, passing the ball, defense if it was 3-0, but they were dominant. They either kept you from scoring or they would just outscore you. It was whatever it took. The other dominant team was the Miami Dolphins' undefeated season. They were dominant. They believed in themselves totally. They did not believe they could lose. They didn't. And they had the belief because they had the talent, the players, the coach, everything was kind of a perfect storm. And I see this with the Chargers. First time I've seen it since I kind of wanted to see it with Don Coryell when I was a kid. Because I love the Chargers. Oh my god. I mean, it was Dan Fouts was my hero. I just thought he was the greatest thing, and he's still fantastic. But I just always thought he was the greatest thing in the world. Um, and Junior Seau, that was down the road. Um, his whole era of playing with the Chargers. I mean, other than the year with Stan Humphries as quarterback, that was the only time that the Chargers made it to the Super Bowl. Um, so looking, and there was a bunch of deficiencies in that team. They were lucky to get there. They didn't have a dominant attitude. They were just lucky kind of to get to the Super Bowl. I'll be the first one to say it. And I've been a Charger fan since I was a kid. But that was what got them to the Super Bowl was a lot of luck. They had talent, but the talent showed up in that last game. The 49ers ran all over them. I mean, it was really not even a close game. Um, they kind of blew them out, just scoring touchdowns just every time they got the ball, and the Chargers couldn't keep up. They had some fantastic players on that team, but that team fell apart after that. And that's usually when you get blown out like that, you either do one of two things. You either rebuild, look at your deficiencies and rebuild and become that dominant team, kind of like what the Miami Dolphins did. That's what they did. The Miami Dolphins were not very good. They got beat up pretty bad. And then they started winning. And then they started believing they were going to win. And then they started just winning and dominating everybody. And that was the last time with um, Don Shula that I remember a team being so dominant. And I mean, they even lost their quarterback. They had a Bob Greasy, and they had I can't think of his name. It's been so long ago. Um, as a backup, and he ended up having to play for like 3 or 4, 5 games, I think it was, and won. They didn't lose. They won. So you could even go through injuries with this attitude of dominance. It's kind of a belief in in yourselves that you can't take away. It's just you just know you're gonna do it. You go out and do it. Sometimes, and I don't know, maybe you guys have played sports, maybe you haven't. Maybe even just even in a game, you can even if you have a team sport that you've been in. I remember being on a baseball team and telling them that we are going to win the we're gonna win the game. We were not supposed to win the game. Nobody was picking us to win the game, but we were gonna win the game. Well, we went out and we happened to win that game. The confidence then built to the next game and the next game and the next game. So you can have that. You if you've ever felt that, it's an awesome feeling. It's a great, it's a real it's not that you're overconfident because that's not what it was. It wasn't overconfident. It was just that you knew what you could do and you did it. You did your job and you did it really well. Whatever it was, first base, second base, whatever it was. But in football, running back, tight end, linebacker, center, quarterback, wide receiver, everybody's on the same mindset, this and their target, and they've got a focus, and that's kind of what when it comes down to and it's not perfection. That's another thing too that that it's not. Um, Whenever you look at dominance, it's not perfection. It's definitely that's my dog, by the way. One of my dogs. Got a bunch of them. Um, sorry. The the thing is when you have a dominant team, it's not perfection. It's not perfection what you're looking for. That's not even possible. It'll never be possible. You'll never have a perfect player, team, coach, owner. You'll never have it'll never be perfect. And it's not perfection that you're striving for. It's 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 focus that you want. It's a focus that you cannot be beat. You're not going to allow it. That focus, along with talent, sets you apart from everybody else. That's why you can do that in um I mean I've seen it with hockey, I've seen it in boxing and I used to box years ago. You can you can you can see that in different things that are the different, mentality in the sport. It's a will, a focus, and a talent. If you have those things, it's unbeatable. Well, so that brings me now. That was my my rant that I did with, I was backing up what Staley said and why he said it, and I see him saying it, and I actually see why he said it. He wants dominance, not perfection. He doesn't want just winning. He wants dominance. Big difference. Huge difference. Because dominance gets you way past winning. When you're dominant, you control it. You're in control. If you're dominant, you're controlling whatever's happening. That's an awesome feeling. When you're in that position of the sport that you're playing, and football is what we're talking about here. If you're in that position of mindset, of physicality, of of the team, not one player, all of them. The organization has to have this mindset, this goal. It's not even a goal, it's an attitude. And it's not you're not being, uh, I don't know what the word is. You're not being, ridiculous as far as the way you're thinking. It is attainable. That's something that is attainable. It's not like perfection. Perfection is not attainable. This is attainable. So you're not overstepping, I guess is what I was trying to think of. You're not overstepping what is possible. This is possible. So anyway, I believe in what he said and how he's saying it, and I believe in teams that have done it. And in my tweet, I also mentioned the teams that I believe achieved it. Um, if you look at the Green Bay Packer Lombardi years, he definitely achieved um, that goal. That was what he wanted. He wanted dominance. And he got it. He dominated the NFL. So you the 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 Dolphins did it with Don Shula. The '85 Bears, they did it with the NFL that one year. They just they just destroyed whoever it was. Just and they won the Super Bowl in that fashion. Total dominance. So anyway, that's what I was getting at. That's what I wanted to mention to you guys, um, on the rant part. Now it's to some questions that were sent to me. Kelly from Nevada said, "How could a team lose to an interim coach?" Now this is a question about, I believe, the coaching aspect of the Chargers. Okay, how could a team lose to an interim coach in their most important game and still be considered a winner the next season? Well, it's pretty simple to me. Number one, you have to kind of remember what was going on with the Chargers that first year. The Raiders had a lot of things. The Raiders always have a lot. If they don't have something going on, it's really not the Raiders. So they've always got something, they've either got somebody in jail, or they've got there's always the turmoil, it seems like, with the Raiders. And they've learned how to play with it. They're the bad boys. They just kinda learn how to play with it. So it didn't surprise me that the interim coach was a pretty damn good coach when it came to it. He did a good job. I think he did a fantastic job after getting rid of Gruden. He had to pull the team up by the bootstraps, and he did. He did a really good job. I don't take nothing away from what he did. However, if you wanna say, let's compare, if we're gonna compare coaches, then let's compare the whole slate. You you've gotta compare a second-year quarterback, first year with his head coach, against a Carr is I don't know how long he's been there. I think he's been there over 10 years. A seasoned quarterback compared to a almost a rookie quarterback. Not a rookie, but his second year, but it's his first year with his head coach. The interim coach had coached there. So everybody knew him. It wasn't like they got an interim coach from somebody else. He was in the organization already. So it wasn't just like Coach Staley coming in, brand new, started completely over, all new coaches, except for one, I think, and had to rebuild the offense. The offense in that game was not the problem. We all know what the problem was in that game, and it wasn't coaching. Staley did what he thought he should do. And if you think about it, even the fourth and on his own, I think it was 18-yard line, I can't disagree with it. The defense couldn't stop anybody. They couldn't stop them. Now they did a few times, and they did from there, they actually stopped them and kept them from getting a touchdown, gave them 3 points. However, he went for it, I think it was 7 times and made it 6 times in that game. So I can't say that that was wrong. Was it on the daring side? Yeah, definitely. I mean, you're putting it all out there though, but that was the game he had to win. So he pulled all the strings. If you're not gonna do it then, when are you gonna do it? See, that's the way I look at it. A lot of players and and coaches have said, "Oh, that was crazy, that was stupid, I can't believe he did that," all this kind of stuff. We've heard it. I've heard it on ESPN and different shows. Um, well, if he didn't do it and he lost, would you have felt better about it? If he would have made it, could have changed the whole game. He could have won the game by doing it. I mean, that's just a chance that you have to take when you're deficient in a certain category. He knew his defense could not stop the run. Period. They were terrible. So what you try to do is you try to give your offense the ball as much as possible or keep the ball as much as possible. And that's what he did. So I can't disagree with it. This year, I believe, is going to be different, a little different. And that's where the answer to your question, Kelly, comes in because when you when you add pieces to a puzzle and your goal is to finish the puzzle and you've got all the pieces there, you've got them as far as you're concerned. You see what you've got them. Okay, I've checked. All right, that's exactly what I want. This is what I want. Then it's kind of an automatic. You feel more comfortable. You feel more confident as a coach. Your decisions may not be quite as extravagant, and I think that's what you'll probably see that this year. But if you're going to compare the roster of the Chargers and the roster of the Raiders today, um, don't think that's a good idea. Um, I there's a lot of talent on the Raiders, a lot of talent. Now they've got a new head coach. Now they've got new ownership. They've got some switching around to do. Again, Raiders are kind of used to that kind of thing. However, even though they've added a few pieces, they are still wildly deficient in certain areas. Really bad. And The Chargers have built up their team, not with just good players or just got rid of some guys that weren't great and put in some fill gap players. They went out and got impact guys, guys that are used to winning, guys that know how to win, guys that are very dominant. Here's that word again, in their position. He got him and Telesco got these guys over and over and over again. Even in the draft. If you even if you look uh, at Woods, they got him late in the draft, right? Horvath, late in the draft. Why did they get them guys? Because they were dominant, so dominant in their position. That's all they could do. They can only be dominant in what they are doing. And then the team has to come up and make up the rest of it. They have to be dominant too. But they got dominant players. So they added dominant players everywhere. I mean, they even got on special teams, they got the best center to hike the ball in the NFL. Picked him up. So, that's a very when you make those kind of changes, you're not just playing around. You've already got deep talent, high class talent on your team. When you add high class, deep talent that makes it deeper, your team deeper in talent, high class talent. When you add those pieces, Khalil Mack is going to be I if he could be a MVP player as of the defense. He could be your best defensive player in the NFL this year. Very easily could happen. Could make Bosa the best player because of having Mack. Those two guys working, and then Joseph Day in the middle. Um, and then you got CJ Jackson, who he may play, he might play against the Raiders, may not. They don't really need him. They don't have to have him play against the Raiders to beat the Raiders. It would be a lot better if they did. I think it would be a lot more beneficial if they did, but it doesn't mean they have to. Um, but anyway, back on the thing of it, you know, losing the most important game. He pulled out all his cards that he had. That's all you can do. And they almost won that game. They almost tied that game. They only missed the playoffs by a field goal. That's pretty good for a first year head coach. I don't care who you're up against. He wasn't a first year coach. So he has background too. It was his first year with the team. Not the same as the interim coach for the Raiders. That guy was with the Raiders for, I think it was 3 or 4 years, and then promoted when they got rid of Chucky. They, they put him in as interim coach. Well, that's not like having to start from scratch. So you can't really compare the 2. Yes, that was a hell of a job that coach did. I think he did a fantastic job. Um, I would have been tempted if it would have been me as the owner. I would have been. It would have been hard to have let him go. I would have. It would have had to have been out of my almost out of my control. I would have wanted him at least to try it one more year. But that's the Raiders. That's the way they go. Um, So the Raiders, the the reason they won that game, obvious, and the reason the Chargers lost that game, pretty obvious. Chargers could not stop the run. So that was the second answer to her question, or his question, I mean, Kelly. I got another question here from a lady in Washington, I guess, Tacoma, Washington. Stella from Tacoma, Washington. I love the Washington area. It is so beautiful up there. Little too cold for my California blood, but but it is beautiful up there. Um, she asked the question, how far can Justin Herbert progress? Is there more room he can go up? Or is it more likely that he could go down in his progression as being a superstar? That's a good question, actually, Stella. Um, my personal opinion, from what I've seen, is when you have a dedicated player with this much talent, and he's able to stay in a certain um, organizational group. In other words, he's not being he's not being taught differently how to add 2 plus 2. Um, he's actually staying in that same mindset and that same way of growth in the organization. It hasn't changed. Lombardi now has been with him for over a year. This is his second year. This is going to be a big leap for Justin Herbert. And it's kind of like anything else. You know, if if you if you're learning to drive a car today, right? And the next day you go to test drive the car, you're wanting to learn how to drive that car, and you walk out there and there's a motorcycle sitting. Totally different vehicles. Totally different vehicles. They're both vehicles. One's a motorcycle, one's a car, but they're totally different. So you've got to learn then all over again. It's that way when you change head coaches. If you change head coaches, they had Anthony Lynn and especially a young sponge, you know, brain like Justin Herbert has. Yeah, he can learn, but you've got to learn on the fly as you're going. He's went now a year with Staley's and Lombardi's um, thesis, okay, and he's learned how to do what he's doing. Now he don't think about the learning part. He knows that. Now it's just implementing that that you've learned. It's like learning multiplication, uh, the nines, you're 9, 18, 27, 36, 45, 54, 63, 72, 81, 90. Well, okay, but now you go in the world, how does that help you? Okay? You have to use that maybe somewhere down the road. But that's going to affect because you know it so well, so easy that you're able to use that in everyday life. That's kind of the way this is happening with Justin Herbert. It's going to make everything flow so much more smoother because he doesn't have to learn it, he knows it. So now they can make it a lot more splashier because he's not thinking, okay, this play means he's going to go there, he's going to go there. Let's see, where does this go? Okay, he don't have to think about that. He's already lived it, so he knows. Okay, this plays. I'm not worried about that. I know where they're going to be. One, two, three. I'm just going to check them. If they're open, boom, they get it. It's a calming effect. it has a whole lot to do with um with winning, and not winning, the game as much as it is winning the series, or winning the play, the series of plays. It has a lot to do with that. So there's Stella, it was a very good question, and I hope I explained that enough to you so you would understand that now he's past the learning stage of the playbook. Now it's it's almost like have turn him loose, have fun. And he's so talented that he's the most talented quarterback I've seen since Dan Marino. Dan Marino was the most talented quarterback I ever saw. And then when he got his knees hurt, he never was the same. Still one of the most accurate uh, quarterbacks I've ever seen, but couldn't run across the street. His knees were so bad. Herbert has got his knees. His knees are okay, thank goodness, knock on wood. And he's got an arm stronger than Marino had, which I didn't think I'd ever see. I've never seen a quarterback that had the size, strength, mental capability, talent, can run. I mean, he's got it all. I have never seen that in a Charger uniform, especially, but in the NFL, the only other guy that I think he kind of he's going to be kind of going back and forth with maybe a little bit is 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 going to be playing tomorrow night in Buffalo, or not in Buffalo, but against the Rams. Josh Allen is that quarterback. Excuse me. So you can see these guys with this kind of talent once they and Josh Allen now is going to be going through a little bit of change up by losing a coach. So you may see maybe not as much of regression as you see other guys may have of regression. I don't know if the quarterback would or not, because he's still going to have his quarterback coach is going to be the same, I believe. But anyway, I don't want to get off too far, but still, this is what you'll see. You're going to see a player that is very comfortable this year from day one, not week 15. Plus, they had COVID they went through and all this kind of stuff, which was excuses, sure, but he had to deal with it. So there was a lot going on. Um, learning the new offense, which is very, very difficult. Lombardi's offense, not an easy offense to learn. Everybody talks about it. Drew Brees talks about it. That's one of the most complicated defenses there or offenses there is. So when you have that much you have to put in your head, he came from a college. I mean, that's a lot to learn. So not that much experience in the NFL. Actually, zero, because he was a rookie. The year before, his first full year that he played, what was it, 15 games under Lynn. So yeah, I mean, this is gonna be a learning experience, but a good one because he already he's got players, excuse me, he's going to learn a little bit more about. That's easier. Not only did he have that, he had players he had to learn. He had a playbook he had to learn. So now he don't have as much to have to figure out. It's pretty simple now. Now it's just do it. Let's just do it. He's got a few players that are new, like a new tight end. So those type of things they'll have to work out a rapport. It'll probably get better as the year goes. Hopefully nobody gets injured. So they're continue to play with each other, play together on the field and develop a chemistry that will make them better with each other, knowing what each other wants and does and tendencies and all this kind of stuff. You don't know that yet with him. He's learning it. He does know Mike Williams. He does know Keenan Allen. He does know Austin Eckler. Parham, he knows what Parham can do and kind of will do. So there's going to be a lot of difference between this year and last year. So that was my couple of questions here. I kind of made a lengthy answer there. Kind of got tired, I imagine, probably of it. But um, also, I wanted to give you my pick of the Rams and Bills. I'm we're having such a heat wave uh, over here in California that um, I'm I'm kind of having to do so many things. I'm not able to spend as much time. So I'm gonna I'm gonna give you the rest of my picks. And oh, by the way, this is uh this is something that is kind of new to me, but um with with these games being um on Thursday, Sunday, whatever, I think what I'm going to do from now on is I'll try to do it on the day of Thursday. Um and it's a long season, so you can always adjust a little bit, I guess. But that's more of what everybody. And then I'll try to give all the teams that are playing, period, um, what I'm gonna do. So I'll have to